Salve skipuli. So this is our first normal video. It's still review topic, but there's only one topic. So we're going to talk about the perfect system active. Not even active and passive, just active. So let's get started. All right, so we are talking about the perfect system in the indicative. I know the word indicative doesn't mean much to us right now because we don't have the opposite of indicative. That'll come later in Latin 3. So you don't really have to pay attention to this word right here. It's just a fancy word that means the verbs are actually happening. We know that they're happening at some point or another. It might have already happened, it might be happening now, or it might be happening later. But either way, it's actually happening, which is what the indicative is. Later on, we'll talk about the subjunctive, but that is in the second whole semester, so let's just not even think about it. So we're going to talk about the formation of the indicative in the perfect tense, or for perfect tense, pluperfect, and future perfect tense. So let's look at the perfect first. We're going to use the third principal part of a verb. So you know that 4 principal parts come in one verb. We've got amo, amare, amawi, amatos. We want to focus on the third one, amawi. Now the examples they use are different. So let's look at what they use. They use paro, parare, parawi. Right? Parawi is the third principal part, and it says use the stem of the third principal part. To find the stem of the third principal part, we take the I off. So notice there is no parawi. That I is gone. It's now paraw, which really isn't a word. So since that's not a word, we are going to have to add an ending to it to make it a word. And now we'll look at the perfect endings. Okay, perfect endings are different. They don't have ost, mustis, nts anymore. It is e, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. Now this changed from the I's. We have 5 I's, and then we have erunt. Hopefully you remember why. Int is not allowed ever until there's the exception. But let's not pay attention to that at the moment. All right. There's another verb. Maneo, manere, manui, monitos. Now we're focusing on monui, the third principal part. To find the stem, if you remember, you take off this I. And that's the stem. That's why they all start with manu. Manu, 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 manu. Those are the stems in the perfect. Perfect stems. You go to the third principal part, take off the I, and that's what you get in the black here. Now, we're adding the same endings. No matter what conjugation, no matter what the stem looks like, we're adding the same perfect endings. E, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. And usually when I have you chant this, we say E, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. You got to really punch the erunt there. Okay? Now, we have to talk about how to translate these. The perfect always has have or has as its translation. So let's translate all these. Paro, parare, parare, parawi, paratos means to prepare. So I have prepared, you have prepared, he, she, it has prepared, we have prepared, y'all have prepared, they have prepared. Okay, so that's how you translate the perfect, just the same pronouns in front, I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, they. But then we add in the have or has, depending on what the pronoun is. Notice I have prepared, she has prepared. That's just an English thing. You know which one to use. We don't need to give any rules for those. Okay? Let's look at the pluperfect. This is another tense that utilizes the same perfect stem. So we're going to use the stem of the third principal part, the same exact thing. All right, we're using the same examples, paro, parari, parawi, paratas, and we took off the I from the third principal part to get our stem, parau. The thing that changes, though, are the endings. We no longer have e, isti, it, imasistis, or runt. Those endings only appear in the perfect, and now we're dealing with pluperfect. So we want to use Aram, Arasarat, Arama, Sarata, Sarant as our new endings for the pluperfect. Notice, if you know your forms of to be in Latin, that Aram, Arasarat, Arama, Sarata, Sarant are actually the imperfect forms of sum. If that helps you, that's awesome. If it doesn't, also awesome. Just forget what I said. And sorry, the tabs got all messed up. I thought I fixed them before I started. Oh well. And the same thing with this stem as well. We started with manui in the third principal part. Took the I off, we're left with manu in all of these stems. And in our ending, aram, aras, arat, arama, sarata, sarant. The translation is different for pluperfect than it was for perfect. If it was the same, it would be the same tense. So, pluperfect always has a had included. So, I had prepared. You had prepared. He, she, it had prepared. We had prepared. Y'all had prepared. And they had prepared. Notice I'm taking the mouse and I am pointing to the sections of what I'm translating, and I always translate from the back of the word to the front. The NT tells me they. The era tells me had. The parau tells me prepared. They had prepared. Try to always translate your verbs this way and you will run into fewer problems. The last tense we're going to talk about is the future perfect active infinitive. Indicative. There's the word that you don't have to pay attention to. Still using the stem of the third principal part, and there they are. They're exactly the same for all the perfect system tenses, which is perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect. The ending, again, is going to change. We are now using ero, eris, erit, erimis, eritis. Erit? Is this right? Could this be? It is. Okay, this is the exception that I sort of mentioned earlier if you were paying attention. Now, these endings, kind of like the pluperfect, are forms of to be. If this helps you, good. These are the future forms of to be. Ero, eris, erit, erimis, eritis, erint. So these aren't future, even though these are future forms of to be. When they're attached to a stem like this, they are future perfect tense, which means we have to add the future part and the perfect part to the translation, which means we have will have for our translation. I will have prepared. You will have prepared. He, she, it will have prepared. We will have prepared. Y'all will have prepared, and they will have prepared. Again, I'm going in these pieces. They will have prepared. These 4 or 3 sections tell me how to translate it, and if you go back to front of the verb, you can translate it usually in English order. And again, your stems are coming from the exact same place. We go to the third principal part. Take off the I that was originally there in the third principal part, and that's whatever's left is your perfect stem. And here's where we're stopping because this is where we're going to start for the next one. Your direction is going to be try to form the future perfect we form of the verb cato, catere, kitty. And I would like you to be careful. I would probably look it up. Cato, C-A-D-O, catere, C-A-D-E-R-E, to make sure that you get that third principal part correct. I chose this one because it's a weird third principal part. Straw out with 15 seconds to spare. Boom!